Yo, what is good, man? We got 3 weeks of football under the belts. Here we are for another week 4. Fancy and Matt, how are we,
Ye
gentlemen? And Little
What's going
D.
on?
Howdy, howdy.
And so another kind of rough week for our predictions, at least. We did have a good DK lineup, which we will show you guys. But welcome back. We are glad to be here. Glad it's still football, even though we're not doing the best in terms of our predictions. We got 5 teams, 3-0. We got the Bills, Steelers, Chiefs, Seahawks, Vikings. And then we have 3 teams that are 0-3, the Bengals, Jags, and the Titans. Now, out of those, I didn't think the Bengals or Jags would be 0-3. Titans doesn't surprise me. The 3-0 teams that surprise us definitely are the Steelers, the Vikings, the Seahawks, and the Bills. Chiefs being 3-0, we knew they had a tough start. But obviously it's the Chiefs. We knew they could do it. But realistically, only one of those teams should be 3-0 and in our minds going into the season. And then, 0-3, there's only one team as well. An interesting stat from the last Monday night game. Obviously, there's 2 Monday night games. I saw people were already trying to vote on getting rid of 2 Monday night games at the same time because it's awful. It's literally miserable.
Yeah,
Just stagger them.
It's just, yeah. Like I said, you either got to stagger them better or you just got to simply stop doing them. It's that simple. Especially just giving Scott Hansen another game on like noon, like on Sunday. Like he could easily handle that game and make great content out of it.
Well, and there's only a couple 4:00 games,
right?
as it
Just
is.
add it to that schedule too. That way, it's
Yeah.
not just a 4 game clock or 4 game schedule. But on Monday night, we had a historical night. If you guys didn't know, the Washington versus Cincinnati game. It was the first game since 1940 that had 0 punts and 0 turnovers.
Yeah, that was insane.
Yeah, that was
Crazy.
definitely a lot more fun game to watch.
Yeah, crazy. Definitely like a crazy stat to look at. And then on top of that, Jaden Daniel now has 2 NFL games where his team scored on every drive, excluding kneel downs. So he's only had 3 total starts, obviously. So 2 out of the 3. Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, and Patrick Mahomes combined to do that twice in their entire careers, including playoffs, in 1,094 games.
I saw that stat. I was going to bring that up with you. That's
something that like I don't think people realize how crazy that is.
yeah.
Like those are really fucking good guys that had dominant careers or are still having dominant careers in terms of Mahomes. And the fact that Jaden Daniels has done that 66.7% of his starts with the Commanders, with a team that we at the beginning of the season all agreed signed a bunch of talent that was good 5 years ago, right? I mean,
Right.
the guy literally reads the football so well. And then another game for you guys from Monday night, last one I have for you is Josh Allen is the first quarterback in NFL history to complete 75% of his passes, throw for 4 or more touchdowns, have 0 turnovers, take 0 sacks, lead his team in rushing yards all in the same game. So we talk about him. He has not turned the football over 1 time now in 3 games. They're 3-0. They lost Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, and then mostly all of their secondary. We all thought that it was going to be the tank of the Bills. And now we do have Josh Allen, who's playing MVP football with less talent on the field, with less turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about it. He scores a lot of touchdowns, fancy, but what was always his issue?
Turnovers.
He turns the football. You throw 4 touchdowns. He had 2 picks. That's how it always was. And we always said, and he still made it work. And so very, very interesting to see. Lots of really cool stats there.
And that's another game where it's like the first half is just like it's locked in already first half, and so he doesn't really have to do anything much in the second half. So I think that's really giving him a good cushion and confidence probably too, right? That he's able to dominate in the first half, and then
I think the scariest thing I think I mentioned it last week was the fact that I think it was week 2. Yeah, I think it was week 2. That was when they played the Dolphins, right? Thursday night. And they legit, they didn't need to do anything offensively. That's the scary thing. It's like you have Josh Allen, who's this superhero who can do anything at any moment whenever you need him to do it. And to sit there and have him throw for 160 yards and blow a team out by 3 touchdowns still is, absurd. And so I like that he's falling into this almost, I don't need to do it every single game. If that's part of the game plan and that's what I need to do, that's fine. There's going to be games that need that, and I'll expose it. But if we can give it to our running backs, if we can give it to our defense, let's do it that way and keep the ball in our hands, safe. You know what I mean, and put up some points.
And it's funny you say that because when we put together our top 5 stats for each position each week,
he's never there.
Right? The very first thing that we see was where's Josh Allen, right? And that's the difference is on the stat sheet, he doesn't have to lay that up anymore, but he's actually, whoever commented that is absolutely correct, right? Like he does look like a dominant quarterback. He's just not needing all the stats the flashy stats to get those wins.
It's very similar. I know we just talked about Jayden Daniels, but even with Jayden Daniels, like Jayden Daniels is having a great rookie year. Like I think he's probably a lead runner for the rookie of the year because he's not turning the football over. He's like, I think he was 23 for 25 or something. It was something ridiculous. Like he only had like 2 incompletions last game. And it's like, as a rookie who's still throwing up the deep ball, we saw him that basically the game winner, right? He threw it up to Terry right out of the end zone basket. I mean, right over the shoulder. I mean, it was a perfect throw. It's like, so he's still throwing the ball down the field. It's not like he's just doing 5-yard checkdowns, And so to be that accurate with an offense, I mean, you look at what the Bears have compared to what he has, man, and it's crazy. And then, on the complete opposite side of things, when we come to fantasy football, right, Matt? I don't know if you saw the stat, but Brandon Aubrey, the Dallas Cowboys kicker, if you took his fantasy football points and you put it in every other category, meaning if he was a wide receiver, he would be wide receiver number 4 with how many points he scored. If he was a tight end, he'd be number 1 tight end in fantasy points. If he was a running back, he'd be number 6 in running back fantasy points. If he was a quarterback, he'd be number 16. It's like fantasy football could be so gosh darn confusing and a pain in the ass. That stat is just crazy.
It's a really good thing that I have him in my home league then.
Yeah, absolutely it is. So that's all the fun stats that I have for you guys. There is one more thing that I just kind of want to pick your guys' brains about before we get into more stuff. And I expect Fancy to be highly involved in this conversation. Take a look at this. I'll give you guys a quick little second to read through. I think it's interesting. I think something that I try to be unbiased in at the best of my ability is giving everyone the benefit of the doubt because of exactly these stats right here. When I think of Daniel Jones, and every single one of you guys think of Daniel Jones, one word comes in your mind, and it's shit. Every one of us thinks Daniel Jones is dog shit. But when you come to Trevor Lawrence, we talked about at the beginning of the season, top 15 quarterback. Why is that? When you look at these stats, why is that? You know what I mean? Without being too crazy or being too biased, why is it that one quarterback with these stats is generational talent and the other one is the worst quarterback and New York Giants overpaid him?
Well, numbers don't tell the full story.
That absolutely.
And that's a lot of it. And it's like when is the percentage, like when is the accuracy happening versus when it's not? Like same with Tony Romo. Tony Romo was good until the fourth quarter. Dak Prescott's great until the playoffs.
Right.
And it's like
that was my argument too, is I was saying Daniel Jones's 42 picks are terrible picks compared to Trevor Lawrence's 40, which sometimes, Trevor Lawrence did have a really bad pick this weekend. I don't know if you guys saw it. It was really, really bad. But sometimes those picks are off your receiver's hands.
Is this the same amount of games played?
This is just their career. So I don't know if they came in the same class or not.
Yeah, I don't remember when they were drafted. That's what I was wondering.
I mean, the crazy part is like they're both 4 years, $160 million for Daniel Jones, 5 years, $275 million for Trevor Lawrence. Daniel Jones had arguably one of the best running backs we're going to see in a while. And I mean, I think it's the same time frame. Is it? We had Kenny Golladay for the Lions who just lit it up, and then he ended up signing a big money deal for the Giants. I think it overlapped to where and then he had no productivity. And then I'm trying to think of Trevor Lawrence. I mean, Etienne was hurt.
If this is correct, Daniel Jones was drafted in 2019, Trevor Lawrence 2021. But Daniel Jones also had a season like ending injury at one of his seasons, so it's kind of like evened up a little bit.
Yeah.
And what's kind of crazy is I don't want to side with Daniel Jones, but like they haven't really given him any talent around him, and then the coaching has been really bad there too. Where
I
I
agree
feel
with the coaching.
Trevor Lawrence has Doug Peterson, which is one of the best quarterback coaches. I'm not saying head coaches, like I'm not saying that, but I think Carson Wentz was what he was because of Doug Peterson. I
Mhm.
think even when he was with the Chiefs, Alex Smith, and I think he might have been there in the beginning of Mahomes' career. He might have been, I'm not sure, but even then, like with Andy Reid, like Doug Peterson was a great quarterback coach. He was a quarterback himself in the NFL. So that's one of those things you look at too. Is just like it's just I just saw the stat and I was like, wow, that's nowhere close as to because I personally always viewed Trevor Lawrence as a top 15 quarterback. I always
I
have.
bet if you looked at him drafted as far as fantasy goes, that would tell you the story between what people think about the both of them.
Yeah, Trevor or
And
Daniel Jones isn't on any teams right now, and Trevor Lawrence is.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. That's my
so that's
point.
what I
It's
mean
just
is like I don't know. It's just interesting. So I just wanted to throw that up there and at least discuss a little bit because I did think it was quite interesting that I
Yeah,
think we do that a lot of times though. I think even like there's biased things we say. Like as much as I talk shit about Prescott, I understand that he's a top 5, top 10 quarterback. I understand that. Like I understand that like he is a great quarterback until it comes to playoffs. Like you nailed it. Just like we like Josh Allen last year was great until he turned the football over 4 times a game. Like, it's like they're great at something and then there's a but, you know what I mean? And so I try to stay as unbiased as I can. I guess I was just trying to figure out like what, why is Daniel Jones and he started looking good. Last 2 weeks he has not looked bad. Like
yeah,
he has not looked
different
bad.
different Giants that we've
And
seen in
and
a long
and
time.
Malik Neighbors looked. I mean, his last 2 weeks he's looked great. Um, Next thing before we get into the matchups, I wanted to go through it because I saw this. I saw the graphic and it's updated. So this is through 3 weeks. I thought this was really cool because we've kind of nailed it on the head. I don't think we talked about it all last week, but I think we've talked our last season, but we talked about it the first 2 weeks on terms of how important it is to not start off 0-1, not start off 0-2, not start off 0-3. I found a graphic that was made. Shout out to the people at Sportsline. Um, Basically this is the percentage to make playoffs based off of everything that we know of, Matt, you like you
right.
said 0-2, whatever. So when you're looking at it, Eagles 2-1, Saints 2-1. Obviously the percentages, like the first thing I asked myself was why is the Saints 5% higher? Their division's a little bit easier. Obviously, strength of schedule a little bit easier. Like stuff like that plays in factors. So to give you
Yep.
guys an idea of, hey, why is the Lions 50%? And the Packers are 72. Well, the Lions must have a tougher schedule ahead of themselves, and they're in a tougher division, right?
Yeah,
And
the
then yeah,
Lions
they've
got
got
to
two
play the
teams above
Packers
them.
twice. We don't play the Packers twice.
Yep, two the same, two teams above them in the same division, right? So
Yep, exactly. So very interesting just to look at. To give you an example, like the Rams and Cardinals, who I think we all think can make the playoffs, 14% and 10%. So I think this is something that I kind of want to hold on to and kind of just see like how it ends up playing out. Hopefully Dallas loses this week and then they drop under 50% because that'd be great.
Oh
That's
God.
the NFC side of things. This is the AFC side of things, which is kind of crazy. Bills 3-0, 99.9% to make the playoffs.
so you're saying there's a chance.
You're saying there's a chance. So if there's out there and there's an odds that you like for the Bills to make the playoffs, I don't know what that odds might be. It's probably like minus 400 at this point or something. But if it's decent odds, hey, take it. Hopefully you're not that 1% or the 0.1%. But the Steelers, that's the one that stuck out for me. 82%. The Jets, 75%.
Yeah.
I like that.
Chargers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Chargers. I mean, I guess this is based. I don't
Chargers
know what
being
they
3-0
simulate.
too, though.
Yeah, I mean,
Or
right.
2-1. I'm
But
sorry, 2-1 actually. 2-1.
with the simulations, I guess I don't know if they. That's not the same as with Herbert. What's going on?
I don't know. I've got him winning the division.
Well,
Remember, as my
68% through 3 weeks is still a great
Oh,
percentage.
it's a great. Yeah, it's a great chance.
Like you said, Herbert definitely, but I mean, they play the Chiefs this week, but they also play Chiefs one more time. You know what I mean? And so their strength of schedule is probably looking a little rough. But I mean, when you look at it, we all had Miami winning the AFC East, 13%.
Yeah.
The Bengals, we had Burrow winning MVP, Matt, 16%. I had
Not
the
looking
Jags
good.
winning the AFC South, 21%. That's what's crazy.
I think this is the best chance for Burrow to win MVP. Is this start? If he could turn it around and show up, he would definitely. Yeah.
If they won that Monday night game, he had a couple throws where we were like, dude, that chase. We were texting about it. That chase combo was unreal. But what's interesting here, I want to talk about it, is because the Jacksonville Jaguars are 0-3 and they're at 21%. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the fall off between the AFC and the NFC,
I mean, there's only
it's a
three teams.
huge fall off on the AFC. Versus
Yeah,
the
I mean, because
NFC.
all 3 0-3 teams are in the AFC, and there's 3 out of the 5 that are 3-0 on the NFC side. So, but
Yeah.
you look at it, the Titans, they're 0-3, 2.6%. The Bengals, 16.3%. But then the Jaguars spike up to 21.5. So they must think the Texans win the division, and then they sneak into a wild card spot. That's what I have to think about. That must be what they think. But I felt like 21% was pretty high, like for 0-3. I really
for an
did.
0-3, which
Yeah.
nearly never
I-
happens, right? But
A rough
I
0-3.
well, I actually have that stat for you guys because I was looking at this and I wanted to see it. During the Super Bowl era, 255 teams have started 0-3. 6 of them have gone to make the playoffs. The last 0-3 team to make the playoffs, if you were wondering, was the 2018 Houston Texans, and they were quarterbacked by Deshaun Watson.
So since 1967, 6 teams have made it to playoffs starting 0-3.
Correct.
And who are those 3?
Well, I don't know the other 5 teams.
Oh, okay.
Just the latest one is 2018. So it was a lot sooner than I thought. I was thinking like maybe like early 2000s or something we didn't know about.
Yeah.
But the Texans started off 0-3 in 2018, and they made the playoffs. So
Yeah.
there is still a chance. But obviously the chances are getting pretty slim.
Well, and it is funny. So so 7 teams, right? So it's just funny the drop off between the Chargers and the Browns. But
Yep.
that's because top 7, make it, right? So I guess that's why.
And they have and their percentage goes down because the Steelers and Ravens are already making it too. So it makes it
Right.
harder in that same division.
Same division with 2 above them. You're right. Yeah.
I mean, 3 teams making the playoffs. I think the last time that happened was the NFC East when the Giants snuck in, when the Cowboys and Eagles went too. And I mean, it's just very rare, right, to see 3 teams from a single division make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll lead us right into our week 4 picks. Last week didn't do too hot again. Me and Fancy 8-8, Matt at 6-10. So that's under 500 back-to-back weeks, Matt. We gotta get you above back on there. Fancy's 23-25 to start the season. I am 26-22. Matt is 25-23. So that puts me back at number 1 for the first time this year. Matt, you've been leading us the whole year so far.
Yep.
But I mean, look, we gotta get more accurate here. Last year we were definitely a lot better. I think this is where we start to get. We still talked about. We gotta see how these teams are playing. We gotta see the tendencies. We have to understand what's going on, and hopefully this week we kind of dial it in.
Week 2 was crazy, right? I mean, I would say I think everybody had a lot of those lopsided. Last week, I don't know. That was you still went 50%, but me going 6-10 is unacceptable.
I took a couple of gambles last week for sure. Trying to get ahead, but this week I really feel like I picked the best that I really did feel on it. Obviously, some of these games are definitely 50-50. I mean, obviously every game is, but there's some of these that wasn't. I was on balancing back and forth between them, and I'll talk about them as we go on. But tonight, when it gets posted, we have the Cowboys Giants. I think all 3 of us would love to see the Giants win that game at home. Malik Neighbors, like we talked about, has been playing unbelievable. So hopefully Daniel Jones can start to pick up some heat and maybe make a name for himself instead of being slandered all over the place. But we all did pick the Cowboys. The Cowboys do need this win, but we would love to see them drop to 1-3. And then going to the Sunday at noon slate, we have the Saints and the Falcons. I'll let you guys go and talk. You guys both pick Atlanta at home. Matt, you can give me the rundown of what you got there.
Yeah, so I told you last week, I picked the Falcons, which by all accounts should have won, a non-pass interference call when he's targeting Pitts in the end zone. Like they had a great chance at winning that game. But Kirk Cousins still shows that he can lead those fourth quarter. I gave you the stats last week, fourth quarter comeback wins. I think the Falcons, are looking legit. 1-2, I don't think shows their true, potential. So I think the Falcons, and then on the flip side, I mean, maybe you'll tell me the opposite, but Saints did not look like the powerhouse that they looked like in weeks 1 and 2. So kind of those things, all things equal there, I edge out the Falcons winning over the Saints here.
Yeah, I definitely I've said about Derek Carr pretty much his whole career. And that's what we saw last week was just the inability to get past midfield, choking. I mean, between Derek Carr and Kirk Cousins, it's kind of like which side of the turd do you want to eat? But I picked Bijan Robinson. I think he's gonna. I mean, that's a great kid. I love to see it.
Yeah. So I guess the way I looked at it was Saints have a better defense than the Falcons, in my opinion. I think the Saints defense has played great football. I mean, we even saw them against the Eagles. We saw them keep the Eagles to a thing. I think that's something that's being slept on. Is that was a pretty high powered offense. The Eagles still, and they kept them to however many points it was. And on top of that, I'm a big believer in. We saw it last week. The Lions lost week 2, right? They were 1-1. What'd you guys learn, right? The Saints were on this high of like, hey, we're 2-0, and we're at the top of the game. We're scoring 40 plus points a game. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh shit. Well, what we got exposed. Okay, so let's go back in there and fix that. And so that's kind of how that was my mindset of it. Was the Falcons are still trying to get their way under. Kirk is getting better every single week. There's no doubt about it. This was one of the 50-50 games for me, especially with Atlanta at home. But I just think if the Saints do want to be serious this year, they can't drop 2 in a row. Like I said,
they gotta find a way to get.
They find a way, and I think last week you go back to the film room and realize, what did the Eagles do when we have a really weak secondary at the moment that shut us down? Like what was it that, you know what I mean? That
wasn't
did that?
Raheed Shaheed with zero catches?
And
I mean,
we'll get into it because my DraftKings lamp, that was the first time he had a 0 all season, and he was putting up 20 plus a week, and he didn't even get a catch. So you got to get these guys involved. You got to get Kamara involved. And so I think it's gonna be a good game. I think it can go either way. I think it's gonna be a real good divisional game. Which good for that division, because that division between them and the Bucks, they need something. Obviously, the Panthers are still lacking a little bit, but there's still 3 good teams in the NFC South this season, which I think we all could be happy for. And then we have the Rams and the Bears. All of us picked the Rams. The Bears are at home in this one, but I just with the Bears offensive line, I think we could all agree that it's literally just Swiss cheese. You guys have seen the memes out there, him snapping the football, all 5 of the linemen being on the ground before he even touched. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. The Rams have a really good defensive rush with Jared Verse. Matt, your favorite to win Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yep.
I think there's a good possibility they kill Caleb Williams this season, or this year. But with the Rams, though, the one downfall we did talk about, Matt, was they are without Puka Nacua. They are without Cooper Kupp. He's already been ruled out. So the Bears do have really good defense. That is the one downside of this. But we all still do like the Rams in this matchup. And then we have the Vikings-Packers, which Fancy's definitely going for the reverse jinx here. Like you
Which
said,
has been very successful.
Like you said, yeah.
so
Fancy picked the Packers against the Eagles. Of course, the Eagles are going to win. And then Fancy has picked the other team to win every single week against the Packers, and they're 2-0. So I saw they're selling jerseys, Fancy, with Malik Willis, and it's W, like 2 W's. It's WWILLIS or whatever. Like, so
hey,
pretty cool.
let
Good
me
for him.
hold on 1 second. You look that up.
But we definitely all picked the Vikings. They're just, I saw I wish we can't play the video just because we don't have the rights to it, but there was a talk show that had LaShawn McCoy and I think Ryan Clark on it, who both obviously Super Bowl winners, both obviously 10 plus years veterans, probably both going to be Hall of Fame, if not one. I think one of them already is. Where they were shown a tape, asked, basically, what does CJ Stroud see here? You know what I mean? Like, what does he see here? They both said cover 0, and then as soon as the ball snapped, like Harrison Smith moved up as a corner. The corner moved back to the safety. Like, it swapped the whole thing around, so it confused CJ Stroud, and they actually were in cover 2. And so the Vikings have been doing it like all year with all these different looks and all these different coverages with the new coach, and that's what's just confusing the hell out of these teams. And when you could do it to CJ Stroud, who we all think is a awesome, terrific quarterback who's probably going to be a future Hall of Famer, if you can fool him and fool LaShawn McCoy and Ryan Clark, who 10 plus years of experience on the defensive side and on the offensive side, their defense isn't being talked about enough. And I think we already are impressed on Sam Darnold and Justin Jefferson and what they're doing on that offense. Aaron Jones, they're doing this all without TJ Hawkinson. So I think this is a really big week for them to go into Green Bay, get a win, go 4-0, kind of even get that gap even more than it already is in the NFC North. Yeah, and we all picked them there. So that's who we have in that matchup. And then we have the Steelers Colts, who a little bit more of a defensive battle there. You know what I mean? I wonder what
That's what I'm thinking too. I think this
the
one is
over
going to
under is
be a
interesting. Matt, you mentioned you really like Justin Fields touchdown. Fancy, you mentioned that you really like Jonathan Taylor touchdown. Um, but we all did pick the Steelers. I thought maybe one of you guys were going to go on the Colts side. I just don't think any of us see enough from Anthony Richardson, and I think we respect Mike Tomlin enough to kind of confuse the 22-year-old on the defensive side. Their defense is just the Steelers' defense is just scary, man. Like TJ Watt is in MVP form. I don't know if he'll ever win MVP and be on the defensive side of the ball, but he'll win Defensive Player of the Year for sure if he keeps it up. Him or Hutchinson. But we all picked the Steelers in that one.
yeah,
Until Richardson picks, shows us something that he doesn't throw 4 3 picks a game or whatever it was, Matt. Like,
yeah, we were high on Richardson, and then it's kind of like the disappointing. Whereas it's the opposite with Fields. He's kind of the surprise right now. We knew Steelers are coached well every year, but he's getting the best out of Fields right now, which is great. So yeah, the stat that I was looking at when I'm kind of liking the Fields anytime touchdown here is, they are still giving him the opportunities in the red zone. He's got eight rushes. You saw him sneak in last week. So, the analysis here is Najee a little banged up. You've got Warren banged up as well. And so I think if he's going to trust himself in the red zone, and I think that's why he has a chance to get in.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be you nailed it though. Like great head coaching on the Steelers side of things. Still I consider him a rookie quarterback just because he got hurt like 3 games into last season. And we've only seen one good game out of him. And if you look at his passing game in that game, it was like 10 for 20, and it was just 2 deep bombs that got caught. So it wasn't really like a crazy good performance. And then we have the Jets Broncos. All of us picked the Jets. Obviously, Jets just more well-rounded team. Bo Nix did have a good week last week. We just don't think it's going to be consistent enough, especially against a very, very, very good defense that looked great. I think it was Thursday night football, right? Jets, Patriots, if I'm not mistaken. So the Jets defense finally looked like it was clicking on all cylinders. I think this will be a huge win for the Jets to go 3-1, especially if the Bills do get it done this week and they're 4-0, they can't keep falling too far behind the division there. And then we have the Bucks Eagles. I did expect one of you guys to at least go on the Bucks side of things. This is another one of those where I wasn't very comfortable making a pick. I'm very proud of the Eagles for winning last week against the Saints, but we're banged up. I mean, we really are. We got a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the ball. We have no pass rush, no Devontae Smith probably this week, concussion, and AJ Brown still lingering hamstring issues. So lots of it going to be on Hurts, Barkley, and Goddard in that offense, unless Jahan Dotson can step up. But we did all pick the Eagles. Maybe Baker will bounce back.
Is this one actually going to be a shootout? Like I keep looking at the Bucks.
We think it should be, right? Like
I keep looking at the Bucks. I keep looking at the Eagles, and I think there's just going to be a million touchdowns scored, and then we've kind of fallen off past couple weeks.
And something to think about too, like not to dive into that game, but is like Chris Godwin's like the number 2 receiver in the league right now in receiving yards. Like Big Mike isn't doing anything. We talk about how consistent Mike Evans is, but I mean, Mike Evans has been like nowhere. Like I don't know what's going on there, but I mean, they got to get him clicking somewhere, and I'm just afraid that it's going to happen on Darius Slay this weekend.
Right.
And we'll see. A matchup that I'm very, very interested in hearing your guys' side of things and just talking about is the Bengals Panthers. Andy Dalton. I wish this was in Cincinnati so bad. Andy Dalton, though, starting against his old team. Fancy, you can give me the breakdown of why you picked the Bengals there.
Man, I do love the way the Carolina Panthers looked, and I had the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase for my picks, and they did connect. They didn't connect enough. I mean, there wasn't enough defense really. I saw, we've all kind of agreed that the 25 over-unders where you kind of draw the line between defense scoring enough or defense stopping enough and the offense scoring enough. And, once you get past that, you kind of wonder, who's really to blame. I think Joe Burrow didn't look as bad as he did in the first couple, and he's not going to go 0-4. This is where he stops it. Carolina Panthers, you got one win, maybe next time.
I really wanted to pick the Panthers here. I like they actually did pick them, Jake, but kind kind of what's fancy saying. If I want to stick to my MVP pick. If they go on 0-4, like that's just a disaster. So I think they played well. They didn't play well enough to get the win, obviously, against Washington. I think they have to. All things equal, they have to win this game. Otherwise, season is absolutely over. So, kind of little foreshadowing, though, for my DK picks. I really do believe that Andy Dalton kind of lit a spark for the Panthers team. It'd be really interesting to see if they can carry that momentum into this week. But Joe Burrow's gotta pull something out here.
Yeah. Something that was interesting is just like how well the Panthers looked against a team that we all think has a decent defense, right? I mean, the Raiders they're not terrible. Like I'd say they're middle of the pack. Like their pass rush, you know what I mean? Like it's so how I really didn't want it to be Bryce Young's fault because I think, like I said, we talked about with Zach Wilson, we talked about with Sam Darnold. We see them go to a new team and then just get a kind of a fresh start of a team that believes in them again, kind of build around them a little bit better. But when you see Andy Dalton, who's 36, step in, have the same targets, have one of the top targets go down, and still put up more points in that game than you did in two weeks is tough. The way I look at it, might be a hot take. The Panthers looked better last week than the Commanders did. And if the Bengals couldn't beat the Commanders, then I don't see how they get it done against the Panthers at home. I think Andy Dalton even has a spark, too, of you guys got rid of me for this Joe Burrow guy. Now it's you guys are 0-3.
Cool revenge game, right?
Yeah. They're not hate, but it's just like you guys let me go. You guys are 0-3. I'm gonna make you 0-4. That way you it's a little salt in the wound. You know what I mean? Of just like I get it. I'm 36 now, but I just beat you with the Panthers. You know what I mean? And like you said, I think Deontay Johnson, anytime touchdown, he got targeted I think 14 times last week, which is like crazy. And I think that's his new target. I think Chuba Hubbard looked great last week as well. And I just don't think the Bengals defense looks. I'm not discrediting Jaden Daniels because I think what he did was phenomenal, and I think he's great, and his performance was awesome. I just think he can do it. A veteran like Andy Dalton, a Pro Bowler like Andy Dalton, couldn't do it. And I don't think the Bengals defense is even remotely close to the Raiders. I think the Raiders defense is much better. So I think you can pick apart the Bengals defense at home. Ocho Cinco's going to be at the game, so we'll see what. We'll see what happens out of it. I think that's the game. Funny enough, I think that's one of the games I'm most excited to see. Of like, can the Bengals go 2-2?
On that note, I was watching Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco, and they were advertising his cigars. A box of 10 is $850.
Yep. I
was like, no, you weren't that good.
No, I'm not paying your retirement. I'm good.
Hold on. Only thing with Panthers, though, I will say, I mean, I really wanted to pick them. I didn't end up picking them, though. It's one of those things where you've got Andy Dalton coming in, and it's kind of like he's got nothing to lose, right? He's the backup quarterback, and all of a sudden he's stepping in and showing he's still got it. So I think that's what's dangerous about that team, that he's just slinging it. He's got nothing to lose. Yeah. So
I think that's why I think it's just like the Joe Flacco thing. Not saying that he's Joe Flacco. I'm just saying, like, I think it's one of those things where, like, I don't have any stars left in me, so I'm gonna take these risks because I know I can do it, and I'm just gonna fucking do it. And I think the guys respected.
That's funny.
On the sideline, whenever they were cutting back to the sideline with those guys were all amped up, fucking fired. They were jumping on Andy Dalton. They love it. So I just think one of those things where he gained the locker room. And to me, when you have a defeated Bengals team, who realistically they should have started off 2-1. They should have beat the Patriots week 1, lost to the Chiefs week 2, and then beat the Commanders week 3. They should be 2-1. That team's defeated. They don't know what's going on. Like, Jamar Chase, the contract stuff, T. Higgins, franchise, they don't know what is going on. He doesn't even know what hair color Joe Burrow has at this point. Like, so we just don't know. So I got Panthers. I can't wait to see it. Texans, Jags, we all took Texans. There's really nothing else to talk about. I don't know. The Jags are the Jags.
Jags looking awful.
I just don't know. I just don't even have anything to say. I'm more excited to talk about the Cardinals, Commanders. Me and Fancy, we took the Cardinals. Fancy, Oklahoma.
Let me say one thing about Kyler Murray, Sooners. that
Oh,
one.
I keep amping them up for you, man.
Let me give you two things. Let me give you two things before I give you a
two
third
things.
thing.
Here's what.
First of all, best dress back to back. Now the Cardinals Lions game was the best dressed game. Those like they look so good. The 2-minute warning pick six that didn't happen. I wish they had a better timer like the NBA does for the 10th of a second because I think that ball got out. And I think that changes the game. I mean, it changes the final score
Yeah, big
overall
time.
if you just end it. And I watched it, and I am a little biased. I do like Kyler Murray. It wasn't Kyler Murray that did it, but I was like, wow, that was so close. And
Scripted.
yeah, I mean, it definitely gave me Pat Mahomes vibes for the bailout there. But I mean, I do like the way the Cardinals look, and I mean, Cliff Kingsbury, right? That's the one that's at Washington now, kind of facing his team back at home stadium. I don't know who's going to prove more, but I'm a big fan of the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Harrison Jr., Connor. I mean, it's connections, and like I said, this is the time you get the most out of Kyler Murray before Blackout 6 comes out. So it's
You got a couple more games in them.
you have a small window there that you're going to get the best out of him.
Yeah, I think you nailed it, though. Kyler Murray's playing great football. Top 10 fantasy quarterback right now. Great on the ground. It's so funny when he scrambles. He was like a little kid, like running away with a
He's
snack.
so fast.
It's so funny to watch. James Conner had a rough week last week, but we saw how good Zach Moss was against the Commanders. I think James Conner is 10 times better of a running back than Zach Moss is. So I think James Conner has a day. I think I just think every week as it goes, I think Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison just continue to get better together. They continue to get better. Marvin Harrison just shows how effortless. Some people are like, he's jogging, and it's like he might be. It might just be that I mean, his route running is so good. It's like it's unbelievable to watch. I think at home, this is a huge win for Arizona, especially with the 49ers at 1-2. You don't want to fall back to 1-3 when they're probably going to go up 2-2 against the Patriots there. Because you kind of have the Seahawks running away with it, right? So, and we kind of have we have the Rams projected too. So if it comes down to it, the Seahawks, and we're right, the Seahawks will be 3-1, and the Cardinals, Rams, and 49ers will be 2-2. So the Cardinals would need to win this game to kind of stay in that race because we know how quickly you can fall out of the race when all of a sudden teams just start to skyrocket out of the division. So that's kind of my take on it. Is at home, give me the Oklahoma boy.
Well, so you talked about Marvin Harrison Jr., but I almost feel like Kyler was a little bit too comfortable against the Lions throwing to him. He threw up a couple of those like that I equate. I know we've compared it before to Kelvin Johnson. He's throwing up a 50-50 ball a little bit more often than he needs to, I think, and that was the downfall. There is he didn't come up with just like he was like 4-8 week 2 when he still did great. He kind of did the same thing against the Lions where he threw up a couple of those.
Yeah.
That might have been ill-advised. Maybe he connects with them, now this week. Maybe he gets on the better side of 50-50, but I think I'm more confident in it. I want to wait and see that when the Commanders actually fall off, because right now, they look really good. Maybe it's the same thing with the Steelers and the Vikings, right? Is just wait. I want to wait and be proven wrong type of thing. Like they are looking good right now. Let's just ride the wave right now.
Yeah, you nailed it too. Looking at it, Marvin Harrison actually has never been over the 50% of his target versus reception list. He was 1 out of 3 in which we're not blaming him, right? We're just saying in general, like Murray and whatever. He was 1 out of 3 in week 1. He was 4 out of 8 week 2, and then 5 out of 11 week 3. So
yeah, that's it right there.
45%, and then 33%, 45%, and then 50%. It's you're not getting there where I think and week 2, I think I mentioned it to you, Matt. Week 2, all of his incompletions went to Marvin Harrison. So whether that's
Marvin
Murray,
Harrison took ownership for that. He said, I hate those are me.
I mean, it may not even his fault. Some of those throws that I watched personally were kind of just like not in the he had to go turn his body and go get and stuff like that. So I think, like you said, though, I think they're still getting it underway. But I think when you look at it, 200 yards the last 2 weeks, it's something that's against the Lions and the Rams, who have good defenses. you got to at least respect it. And like I said, I just don't. What we saw Burrow and Chase do. Not saying that Murray and Harrison are at that level, but I'm just saying I can see it happening, and to some degree at least.
Yeah, that's
especially
gonna be
within the
scary
home.
if they figure that out. If they
Especially with
figure
just
out
how
some,
much he can scramble, man. It's just dangerous.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then 49ers, Patriots, not much to talk about again. 49ers got to get on the board. Purdy should play. Kittle should play. Mason, CMC's in Germany. I mean, yeah,
Who
that's
knows when he's coming
who
back?
know
Yep.
he might come back with a metal knee. I don't know. I don't even know what they're doing over there to him, but hopefully he comes back. I don't know.
Oh, wait. Speaking of CMC, wasn't he's his little brother's Washington, right?
Yeah, he's Luke.
Yeah, he
Luke
got a
Stafford.
couple.
He
Yeah,
got
he got a
like
couple.
2 or 3
Yeah, he
catches.
looked good. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yep.
nice to see it. Nice to see
Yeah.
the generation.
It was kind of weird watching it Monday night. Like Vance, we've talked about it. Like you almost have a game on as you're doing a couple things. Like you're watching, but you're kind of doing a couple things, and it's
Yeah.
like first down to McCaffrey. You're like,
Yeah, no, I
Like,
definitely,
I thought he was in
like,
Germany. He's in Washington now. Like,
yeah, it
yeah,
was very cool.
They're really cool though, man. Hopefully he has a good career, and hopefully he ends
Rough
up being
start.
something somewhere.
I mean,
So,
not a rough start, but like when you get dealt,
Daniels too, though.
you get,
Terry McLaurin,
you
yeah,
get
Terry
dealt it to
McLaurin.
begin with, you're like,
Yeah.
okay, well,
Yeah,
good
that
luck.
offense is getting rolling. Hopefully he's
Yeah.
getting used more.
Yeah.
And then Browns Raiders. Matt, me and you took the Browns. I'll let you take the lead on this one if you want, Matt. What you saw in this matchup?
I mean, I'm still not sold offensively. I think more it's just defensively
Yeah.
is I still think they have such a solid defense. That I think that's what takes over a game like this against the Raiders. So I'm not sold on Deshaun Watson yet.
Yeah.
In their offense, but I think it's more defensively.
Yep. I absolutely agree. I looked at the line and it's at 37. So they're not expecting a lot of points in this game
Yep.
to begin with. And if we're gonna go to a defensive battle, the Raiders just let up 30 plus points to the Panthers. So Amari Cooper can get going. Jerome Ford or any of those guys in the backfield behind that line can get going. Watson could even scramble himself if need be, right? I think we saw Winston take a couple snaps last week too. I don't know if Watson got hurt or something or what happened. But I mean, the Browns, their defense is 10 times better than the Raiders. And I think they're both kind of a situation where like the quarterbacks aren't great, but they have a good receiver, Cooper, Adams, right? Like it just what offense is going to get going. And I just like you said, Matt, I think I just stay on the Brown side of the defense.
When when you look at the, I agree with everything you said. Like I think the Browns have a better defense. I don't think it's a big difference, but I think it's a better defense.
Really?
Defense. I don't think it's a big. I don't think it's a huge. No. I don't think it's going to be like the game decision because ultimately.
Are you in this matchup? I thought I thought you meant like defensive units. I'm like, holy shit! Like
no. It's just I think like
didn't you, Matt? I was like,
I think the Raiders will. It's easier. I feel like Watson has shown so far under pressure, just the worst decisions. Will Levy's decisions.
Yeah,
just,
but they're worth $240 million in a hand job.
Yeah. It's not too good, and
it's not too good.
it's not too good. You definitely don't want to see that.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
I like Max Crosby a lot. I can see him definitely getting to him.
I think he's banged up. Because he did not look explosive.
On the Max Crosby topic, before we move on to the next game, did you see what he said?
No, I missed it.
About if the Raiders ever want to get rid of him or don't sign him, where he wants to play.
What?
Detroit Lions.
That'd be a great
pickup. He said if the Raiders ever like don't want me or we can't come to an agreement, I would want to go to Detroit and play with Hutchinson.
Max, we will take you any day. Come on over.
Any day of the week. Come on the pod, whatever you want.
Let me hear any team that says they don't want him, and I want to examine your brain. But I mean, ultimately, when it came between these two teams, in the matchups, I went with the home team. That was like where I was like,
and sometimes that's a deciding factor.
That could be it.
Yeah.
Especially if they're still in Oakland.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, I was like, in Oakland, I might consider it, but like in Vegas, I'm just like, I don't even know if they have enough. Like Adams doesn't even want to be there. Do the fans even want to be there? It's like, what I mean? I don't know.
I don't know yet. I don't know.
It's weird. It's gonna be. That's probably the game that like if I don't see any coverage on it, I wouldn't really care. If I you know what I mean? Like it's like, oh, who won that game? Browns. Okay. Like you know what I mean? I wouldn't really mind not seeing anything. One game I am excited about. Which I wish they'd kind of like move maybe one of these games to like a prime time so we can like watch it because I think the Chargers Chiefs game is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Matt, me and you took the Chargers there. I was pretty disappointed that I didn't take the Chiefs because of the fact that, like, I talked about it literally last week that I was done being burnt out. That's literally why I went with them over the Falcons, even though I wanted the Falcons. Like, I'm done doing it. And like, I just thought to myself, like, if anyone's gonna beat the Chiefs, it's gonna be Harbaugh and his rookie coach, not rookie, but you know what I mean, like whatever, like his debut with the Chargers at home after a 2-1 start. You know what I mean? And it's like that defense is probably gonna be the best defense that the Chiefs have seen this season. They played the Ravens, they played the Bengals, and they play who do they play? Oh, the Falcons. So yeah, those defenses, to me, the Chargers have a better defense than them. Chargers defense is like number 4, number 5 in the league right now. So to me, I think it's gonna be a close game. I think it's gonna be a real close game. I don't think it's one that Chiefs just run away with. And I think I'm going to be very interested to see what Harbaugh does to lock, because I think they know Kelsey's not really a threat anymore, and their run game is banged up. The Chiefs are. I think this is I think we only all agree on 2 teams going 4-0, and it's the Vikings versus the Packers and the Steelers versus the Colts. I think this is the Chiefs' first loss, and I think it's okay. I think it's okay for them to take a loss to the Chargers at home. Like, I think that, like, we think divisional matchups. What do we always say? The divisional team usually wins their home matchup. Like, the Lions will win at home against the Packers, and then they'll lose in Green Bay. Like, that's what always happens. And so I take the Chargers home, and then I take the Chiefs at home against the Chargers at the next matchup. Like, that was my thought process.
I definitely, I do agree. The Chiefs love to lose these games.
Yeah.
They did it against the Raiders when they sucked so bad,
and the Broncos too.
And the Broncos with was Russell Wilson, right? Like, that was like his, like, the start of his little arc there.
Let's ride.
Yeah, they were riding, and
they were riding,
and then they won a Super Bowl, and
drafted Bo Nix.
You know, I definitely, with the Herbert injuries, kind of what I was like.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's playing. I don't know what's wrong with him.
Too, though, when I made the pick,
that's why
I looked at it, and no offense, Matt, when I saw you pick him, I'm like, fuck. Like, Matt picked him too, which means like Herbert's gonna get fucking hurt. Me and Matt are gonna go 6-10. Like, you know.
Yeah, I picked.
Crazy's gonna happen.
Yeah, Casey's gonna win this. I think Kelsey's done being a slump. I think that, I mean, there's been enough talk about it now. You know, like, we're going to get plenty of Taylor Swift coverage. We're going to get plenty of Kelsey coverage. Jason's rooting for him, talking about stats don't matter, blah, blah, blah. Like, I think, I mean, Andy Reid is one of the best, and he's going to figure out a plan to show Harbaugh why he should stay at Michigan.
I think that's what I'm excited for, is Andy Reid Harbaugh. Like, that's what I'm excited for. Is like,
that's going to be a great match.
Well, we got to see it 2 out of 4 weeks. We got to see it week 1, first game of the season. Harbaugh.
Oh yeah, we got a few Harbaughs.
So it's like we got to see 2 out of those matchups, and so it's, will this brother get the best of Andy Reid? We'll see. But you're not wrong, Fancy, going with the pick. We talked about it. Chiefs, Bills, Cowboys, like those guys, like Eagles.
How do you pick against them?
They're teams that you just, if you pick them every week, you're going to be on the pluser side of it at the end of the year. Like, that's the truth of it. Like, so.
Well,
I will say, Matt, I look back at it, and what's really interesting is you have not once this season bet on the Chiefs. Week 1, you picked the Ravens. Week 2, you picked the Bengals. Week 3, you picked the Falcons. And week 4, you picked the Chargers.
And look at those games. So, I mean, it sucks that I was on the wrong side of those, but all 3 of those games were winnable by the other team.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right? And so when it comes down to that one possession, you're right. I don't want Mahomes to have the ball that last possession. I really think that Falcons score that touchdown at the end there and win it, but obviously they missed it. So with those 3 games, these are not decisive wins by Chiefs. Chiefs do not look good. I mean, good on them, 3-0, but you know, I really don't think, you know, I have the Chargers again. Chargers in the division. This is how you have to beat them now to have a chance at your division. Yeah. So I think it's ripe for the win here for the Chargers, because Chiefs have not looked good.
Yeah.
You know, Kelsey's more of an actor, or you know, does commercials more than he does play football right now so far. So
Chiefs haven't looked good the last 2 seasons at the beginning.
Yeah. Oh, you know, the refs on their side too. It helps, you know.
I mean, and so why are you betting against the refs?
Yeah, I think they're the new 12th man.
I just thought it was interesting to bring up, though, because I'm like, when you think of the Chiefs, if you told me like out of 4 weeks, say the Chiefs win this week, it's like Matt's Matt's 4 losses out of however many you had this season are because you keep betting against the Chiefs. It's like we just talked about, like there's certain teams where if you pick the Cowboys every week, you're probably going to go 11-5 in those picks, right? Or 11-6 in those picks. Sorry, 17 games now. But it's like you'll take that. So it's like, how many more weeks do you go against the Chiefs? I guess until, like, if they lose this week, next week, do you pick the Chiefs no matter what?
Here,
We'll see. We'll
to add
revisit.
on to that,
Actually, I think it's a bye week. Honestly, I think it's week 5 bye. So you'll pick them that week.
to add on to that, it's like I have picked the Cowboys every week, and they're 1-2, and so it's like, when do I give up on the Cowboys versus when does Matt come over to the Chiefs?
Yeah.
Like, Jesus, like,
Well, no, you gotta keep betting on them because they keep losing. So fucking just,
Yeah,
Fancy, I will pay you.
For the love of
actually, I don't even
God.
have to. You going into work, realizing how to, like, you walk in there and it's zombie apocalypse, and that just makes your
Oh my
entire
God.
year.
I tell them every time, I'm like, hey, I picked the Cowboys. They're gonna let me down. They're like, nah.
Fancy goes in there. Well. And then honestly, Sunday Night Football is, oh man, it's like I don't even want to skip the slate. I'm not saying that, but like, there's something about it when you're watching football all day long and you know you got one more game left and you just kick up your feet before the work week starts. You know what I mean? You just kick it up and you're just like, one more game. I think this game is going to be a lot of fun to watch. I think we're looking at 2 MVP caliber quarterbacks going at it. And me and Fancy, we took the Bills. I think we kind of nailed it already, Fancy, with Josh Allen. Just like he's not turning the football over. We talked about how dominant the Bills are without him needing to play superhero, and he can always play superhero. And yeah, I think this is the one that they check off of, like, they're 4-0 and the Bills are fucking legit. Because I think some people still are not giving them enough credit. Still, like, it's almost just like,
this would be
yeah, they're
this
3-0.
would be a legit win for
think
sure.
I think this is like they're 4-0. They beat the Ravens at home. Watch out for the Bills. They might go 17-0. You know what I mean? Like, it's like type of game.
They're worried if Josh Allen is legit. I think that's what they're worried about, because that's who's been the letdown.
I don't think so though. I think they're wondering if the Bills are legit. I think everyone knows.
Like we talked about earlier with the picks. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like, you let me down, not like all season, but when you let me down, it's the worst. And
Yeah.
that's what people are worried about. Once again, I mean, I'm on board with the Bills.
Trying to jinx us.
I mean,
Well,
the Ravens absolutely should have won. So
I saw the one quote, and I don't know if it was from Josh Allen himself or somebody talking about them, but he says it's, I'm paraphrasing obviously, but it's something about, it's amazing how you guys can play when you're not worried about stats, when you're just worried about playing football and winning the game. I think that's very true about this Bills team right now, because we had all those question marks about who are their wide receivers, right? Who's going to get the ball? And that's what's crazy about this team right now is they're getting it done. And Dalton Kincaid is not lighting it up like we expected him to.
We thought he was going to be top tight end in the league.
We thought he was going to be the one that just takes all these receptions and lights it up. He's still spreading the ball. He's still finding a way to win it. And that's the most impressive part about this 3-0 Bills team, is they're finding a way, no matter what it is, they're finding a way to win.
Yeah. And Khalil Shakir, who's probably considered their number 1 receiver at the moment. They actually just set an NFL record. I believe I read 27 targets, 27 catches. He hasn't dropped a single target. So that goes to show you how consistent he is. Keon Coleman caught his first touchdown last season, or last week. But they're just not using him as much as we thought. But yeah, I mean, the Bills are just a scary team, man, because they can give it to Cook, they can give it to Allen, they can give it to Kincaid, Shakir, Mac Hollins, Keon Coleman. They don't sound like big names, but Josh Allen's got a lot of faith in all. He's got a lot of faith in all of them. And I think we've seen it over the couple of years, man. I mean, how many wide receivers did Aaron Rodgers make?
Exactly.
I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers is Josh Allen, but I'm just simply saying, like,
no, that's
you
a good comparison.
You have an elite quarterback. You don't need just like Mahomes. Who was Rashee Rice? Tyreek Hill was a nobody, right? Like, he turned these guys into these guys, and
just
like,
buy into the system, and he'll find a way to get
buy
you
into the system, play your role, and I'll get you the football. And
there's no way you remember Wes Welker, Danny Amendola, and Julian Edelman without Tom Brady, because those guys were under 6 foot tall, and they absolutely they changed the game of wide receivers, that you didn't have to have a Megatron. Not to take away from Megatron, but it's like okay, it can be all sizes. They all are important.
every size matters.
And I mean, and let's shout out the little guys, the regular size guys.
The little D's.
Let's talk about the average D in the back, you know, and
Little D.
but ultimately, when you picking the Bills for me was watching the Ravens almost choke a massively, almost in Dallas fashion. Like I was like, oh my god, like they're gonna Dallas their way.
Oh my God.
They're gonna Dallas their way in Dallas. Like they're
Yeah.
gonna do it, and that's not what you know. It's like, I mean, that made a case for Dak Prescott, really.
Yeah.
That I hate to say.
The one game that shocked me the most was you picking the Titans versus the Dolphins. I will say that. I
Mhm.
think when we look at it, Matt, from my perspective, Dolphins are the Dolphins. More target, like there's just more playmakers. We saw the Titans. Will Levis, he might throw more touchdowns to the Dolphins than
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like there's like the memes of like week 1, week 2, week 3, and each week he does something ridiculous. Like, and it's like they're just ridiculous pictures. I don't know if you all seen it before.
Yeah,
Like, you got the
what's it
one,
gonna be?
the one that he's like this, then he's got the one where he's throwing the pick midair. Then last week he had a dude's nutsack on top of his back of his head while laying down like face planted. It's like every week he does something, and I'm just like, I can't give this guy my pick. I just can't. I can't
Are
do
are
it.
we sure he's not like left-handed and he's
I don't
throwing
know.
it righty or
I don't
something?
know.
Because it's
But
not looking
supposedly the
good.
Dolphins are going to be looking at starting Tyler Huntley this week, which, if you guys
Mhm.
remember, he brought the Ravens to the playoffs when Lamar
Yeah, he
was
stepped
hurt.
in for the Ravens
So-
and did great. Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
that happens, I do see Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane, Jonnu Smith,
Yeah.
all these guys being used again, and I just know
Saving
that the
some
Titans keep
fantasy
up.
rosters for sure.
Yeah.
I
So that's kind of where I was
Yeah.
at.
Hey, I got a homie. He's a Dolphins fan. I've been terrible on my picks. I was hoping to kind of give him just like a little boost. Like, hey, I picked the Titans. Y'all will probably
Yeah, I know
win.
we all put the Dolphins to win the division, and it's not looking very likely between the
Yeah.
Jets and the
Which
Bills. So
I mean, you know.
yeah.
Speaking of concussions, like shout out Brett Favre for announcing he has Parkinson's and probably has something to do with the 1,000 concussions he's estimated to have received while playing his
Hopefully
20-year
Tua
career.
takes that into consideration.
Yeah,
Honestly.
exactly. Like please, if anybody's an example, you know, that probably can be weighed into his interceptions that he threw.
Yeah.
You know, Brett Favre, I'm talking about.
And then the second Monday Night Football game that we have, which once again, please, Roger Goodell, stop it. Just throw this Dolphins Titan game at like 3:00, 3:05, 4:05 Eastern. Sorry, like just throw it then, and we don't care. Like Scott Hansen will show us the touchdowns. We don't need to watch it. Just give us Seattle and the Lions, and we'll be okay.
They are split a little bit, luckily.
But no, it still sucks though. Like even last week, I was trying to watch the Bills, and then the Bills were such a blowout that I went over to the other game, the Bengals game, but then I was
Mhm.
missing touchdowns that the Bills were
Mhm.
getting, and I couldn't see who scored. So I was trying to go back and see it and like watch Josh Allen, but then it was like 46-3 or whatever, 10, and I was like, I want to watch the closer game, but I want to see Josh Allen play so I could talk about it, you know, like. But
Yeah,
it's just kind of annoying. I wish maybe even
it's
just,
a
like, some
it's a Disney thing.
dude, even just like if they moved the Monday night game, the first one to 7:00, like 7:00, and then like 8:30, like
Yeah, no,
like
it's
you know,
it
it's
has
like
something to do with Disney having some control.
yeah. So, but we all did pick the Lions. I don't really got much to say. I bet the one time I bet against the Lions, they won, and so I just it's one of those things. Like I said, it's just a numbers game of
Yep.
like, yeah, I just got to keep picking them at this point because when I haven't, they won, and when I did, they lost. So I don't know what to do. Lions at home. I've been there twice with you, Matt. I say it every week. Definitely a huge difference maker in everything. So,
Yep,
but
definitely home field advantage.
Seattle definitely do not take them lightly. That's I teeter-totted this pick quite a bit. If Tampa could come in and beat you guys there, I think Seattle can too. So be careful. I think Seattle's
Yeah.
legit this year. Like
Yeah,
I said at the beginning of the season with that new defensive coordinator it was the defensive coordinator for the Ravens is their new head coach, and I said like he's gonna bring that Legion of Boom back of like their defense is very very good and their offense was back what we saw 2 years ago when we were like holy shit Geno Smith is a top 10 quarterback and he's a top 10 top 5 quarterback right now statistically. So watch out, DK Metcalf and Jackson JSN. They're getting hot. So
yeah, even Lockett, had the one great game too. What I will say is, high expectations for this offense. it's weird. Laporta is getting absolutely no love right
Gotta
now.
be hurt, just like Max Crosby. Gotta be. Cannot convince me. Did not heal from last year.
It just doesn't make sense, right? So, but everything. I think everything in the favor of the Lions. Now, did you guys see? Did you guys see that hook and ladder play? Last week
Yes.
for the Lions.
Yes.
Did you guys hear what the name of that play was?
No.
Matt from Talks Within Reach.
Shake and bake.
Shake and bake. How original. Good job, Dan Campbell.
So no, it was Ben.
Ben Campbell.
So no, like I love those. I love those gadget plays. They did it obviously at the exact right time for that one. I want to see. I know you picked Jamal or Jameson Williams, and then he did nothing, right? But I want to see more of those gadget plays with him. I want to see him.
He's so fucking fast.
I want to see him be able to do those types of jet sweeps and all that type of stuff. So if for some reason Laporta is still hurt and not getting the ball, I think they're going to find a way to get J-Mo the ball. Obviously, two great running backs, to get in as well. So,
yeah. And they kind of need this win because if we really are right, the Vikings go 4-0. They can't go 2-2. They need to step up and they need to be right behind the Vikings. That way, as soon as the Vikings lose or they play the Vikings, that they're ready to go. Last week we had a new winner. So every single week, one of us has won.
Great job, Nancy.
I will say, Matt, I'm glad that we text each other and kind of coordinated our lists. I didn't know we were going that hard, Matt. I didn't know you were going to go 100 plus points. So I try to stay south of 100.
I appreciate you staying that low. Yep.
Yeah. I thought maybe you were trying to trick me a little bit. I saw you pick it. I was like, man, he might win it this week. So I try to go. I was going for all ice, and it's bullshit that I didn't get it.
That was pretty close.
It was. I mean, this might be Talks Within Reach history record here. I don't think there's been a game this low. I will say I did look. That's not the highest points. I did a 200 plus last year.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say that.
Is this the biggest spread?
What hurt Fancy was the Swift and Bears. If Swift just got in the end zone or whatever, Fancy would have had it. But great week by Fancy. Like you said, Fancy, the Burrow chase, Cooper right week, Goddard the right week. I mean, everything you just nailed it on the head.
Yeah.
And then obviously the only good thing I did was James Cook, and the only good thing you did really was Neighbors. I didn't even go got one. I went got one every fucking week, and for whatever reason I didn't do it, and that's my fault.
Well, and we know Thielen would have had a lot more than that, but he got hurt.
Yeah.
So
that's why I sucked. That's my reason. So I'm gonna go for under 50 this week. So no, right now the record is 1, 1, and 1 for all of us. So all of us are 1 and 2, technically, right? Because there's no second places. We've all gotten dead last. We've all gotten second place. We've all gotten first place. So don't tell any of us.
Yeah.
You just have to guess correctly, I guess.
Yeah, real quick, I'll just run through mine, like real quick and nice and easy. Caleb Williams. I mean,
wow,
real cheap. The only thing that stood out for me, dude, $5,600. He threw the football 52 fucking times last week. Like, give me a quarterback that throws 52 times a week, and I'm going to take him, especially at 56. I almost took Dalton. I do like that you took them, Matt. Chuba Hubbard. We saw, like I said, we saw what Zach Moss did against Cincinnati.
Yep.
I think Chuba Hubbard can do the same thing. He did it against the Raiders. Kyren Williams, the only thing that the fucking Rams have left that is healthy. Juwan Jennings, I had him start in a handful of my leagues. He actually won me my $350 league because I had him in my flex last week. 3 touchdowns. I think Debo's still out this week. So
Kittle's still banged up too.
Jennings at that price is great. Terry, we saw him finally get the connection with Jaden Daniels. Love it. Odunze connection with Williams, kind of got that bubble. Ferguson, Thursday night, guys are tired. Throw it to the tight end, little drop off. Matt, you went with him as well. Godwin, I had to circle back and get him after last week because he's been my most consistent guy, and I didn't go with him last week, so I can't go under 100 again. And then I got Steelers defense against the Colts. We talked about the Steelers. We talked about the defense. Talked about how bad Anthony Richardson is. I like the price of it, and that's what I got.
Wow. Yeah. I went Mayfield, man. I got a soft spot for him. I mean, we know that. Exactly. I don't see it. I mean, he was under pressure I can't remember the percentage of snaps. Like, I mean, almost instantly. And we saw with a few other teams where it's just like, Jesus Christ, get an O-line. Yeah, not the cheapest, but definitely a lot of potential there. No disrespect to the Eagles, but I mean, Mayfield, he can put up enough. Like you said, Godwin, Evans. I mean, there's connections to be made. Aaron Jones, he said a bunch of nice things about Green Bay this week, so I just fucking love him right
We'll
now.
have 7 touchdowns this week.
uh,
She's like, I'm gonna cry. Just like-
yeah, like low key, I'll paint that fucking Packers helmet fucking purple for him just
Yeah.
because Robinson, dude. I mean, like we've talked about it already just during the week, Jake. That I mean, he's just good, man. He's just good. It's like you can't.
I mean, 15 fantasy points a game. I mean, we didn't really expect that out of him this season. I mean,
Right,
good for
right.
Washington to finding a guy
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and I mean, the only reason why I see Arizona winning is by them outscoring people. So, that being said, I think their defense is weak enough to let Robinson in a couple times. Ayuk, we talk about people that are hurt over, Kittle's banged up. Yeah, that should be almost a guaranteed fucking paycheck, unless they get ahead too much and then
Not really, because last week it was Jennings. That's why, like, Ayuk has been. I mean, you see right there, 7.6 points a game. Like, he got.
All I
targeted
need is the
10
fire. So
Dude,
10
he
points.
got I know, but 10 he got targeted 10 times last week, I think, and he only caught like 4. He's been dropping like every ball. There's like a whole thing about they
Yeah.
paid him that much money and he's dropping everything.
Yeah,
Like,
he's in that new contract slump
like
right
holy shit. Why they even sign him when
Wait.
you have Jennings?
Who was the other one? The other that was being a diva about their money for the Seahawks or for San Francisco.
Debo?
No, that was Ayuk.
Oh, Debo.
No, Debo wasn't. No, yeah, that was
Oh, it
Ayuk.
was. Oh, well, I got it mixed up then.
Yeah.
I was thinking.
Yeah,
I'm picking the one that's not the
Ayuk's the one
diva.
that Peyton Manning even said this is why you don't hold on a contract and you go to training camp and catch football. Like he got
I
pissed.
got it mixed up in my.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I'm like, you're
okay.
like, I just need 10 points. I'm like, he hasn't done it
Yeah.
this year. Like,
Yeah, no, I
that's why
definitely
was
got
like-
that. I got him
and
and
at
Debo
that,
mixed
and
up.
at that price, it's like Jennings had 180
Yeah.
yards, 3
Yeah,
touchdowns. and
no,
he's
I
cheap.
that's definitely just on me. I got two people mixed up in my head there. Metcalf, he capitalized for me last week. I mean, he's one of the very few options that Seahawks have against a tremendous defense. Not tremendous D in
Tremendous.
Detroit, but a tremendous defense that
Gotcha.
the Lions have. And so I will stick with him. Reed, I don't know who's going to start. As of right now, I think it's a like 50-50. Malik Willis they kind of adjusted the offense to make it more run, but we've seen everything he can throw. He can throw. I'm not saying he's going to throw a bunch. And Reed has done a lot from the backfield in a running back position. I think he can get some touchdowns. I know those won't necessarily count yard points, but I think he can get in the end zone. And so I went with him.
Yeah, the Green Bay receivers kind of scare me though, just with not knowing
There's
if
so
Jordan Love's
many
gonna
of
be
'em.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You don't know
yeah.
who's gonna pop off, type of thing. That's
So that
Yep.
first week, it's like you picked 2 of them, and you didn't have Reed, and Reed was one you want. It's like
Right.
it's almost like when the Patriots, all those guys, it's like you didn't know who was going to do it, but if you picked the right one, it was worth
Yep.
it. It's like,
Right. And
that's
Reed's
kinda
the one I see in the backfield the most. That
Yeah, I mean,
is-
averaging 18 points a game. I mean,
yeah, like
Like-
I think he's gonna be okay.
damn it, we still don't have a 3. Like all of us came together.
I
Me and
know.
Fancy went
Not
Hubbard,
once?
and me and you went Ferguson, but we didn't all 3 go those guys.
Gesicki, once again, I saw him get a few targets. I mean, tight ends are tough. I got lucky with Goddard, and give me 10 points with him, and I'll be happy. Chuba
It's-
Hubbard is outstanding. I mean,
it's crazy. You've got Texans at $3,000, against Jacksonville, who
They don't have a good defense. Like
hasn't done anything. So that's, I mean, it's against
I
Jacksonville,
think
right?
this
So-
is the week that they do. Because you need a defense to win a championship, right?
Yeah.
That's what they all say.
Yep.
Maybe this is where we see
Get a little
the
confidence, yeah.
defense that's enough to say like, hey, we can make up for any down, any time that CJ Stroud struggled, which we have seen before.
And I feel like I overpaid for my defense again. Like you guys always find the nice bargain.
I feel like the Steelers was the best option there. I definitely thought this might be the week that we all 3 hit the Steelers because we all picked them. We all talked about the defense, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's the second cheapest there, and what is $300 more than the Texans? You know what I mean? It's like they might get 3 picks this week. Like,
Do you guys start top to bottom?
I told Matt what I did the one week. I find my quarterback, then I find my defense, then I find a tight end, and then I typically try to get rid of the running. Like I pick a running back, then I pick a wide receiver, and then I see what my average left is, and then I
Yep.
keep going through there, and I see like I look through and I see who I like more, and that's why I determine if I'm going running back or wide receiver at flex. And then I typically finish off that other position. So if I'm going to go running back at flex, I'll finish off the wide receiver and then pick 2 running backs that I like.
Yeah, so you depend on
That's
who you need to at what
But I
price
definitely,
point.
I definitely
need
go
to-
quarterback, defense, tight end. That's what I go.
Gotcha. I just I try to exploit matchups really. So here, you know, I wanted to play someone. That's why I think I got to Jake Ferguson. I wanted to play someone that's playing the Giants. That's one of the teams you always want to target.
One guy that might get like 2-3, touchdowns tonight.
Yeah. So, and then the other one we talked about, my foreshadowing before, was the Andy Dalton resurgence. So, this week I am confident that he keeps it
You got
going.
the bubble going.
So then I stacked it with Deontay Johnson, right? Because I think that is his targets. Now that Thielen, it would have been Thielen again, but Thielen's hurt. So I really think he's got a great opportunity to keep that matchup going. I told you I'm high on Bijan here this week. I know you talked about their defense, the Saints against them, but I do like Bijan's opportunities here. If you saw our target, or not our target, our snap count by running backs this week, I posted. Last week we saw an uptick in Roschon Johnson, and then obviously you saw DeAndre Swift's zero productivity. So that was kind of my bargain position of, I think he's going to have some opportunities there. Nico Collins, I think he's going for 100 plus yards, going to get a touchdown opportunity as well. Malik Neighbors, same thing. Him and Nico kind of are in that same bracket where I think they have an opportunity to hit 100 yards every game.
Yep.
And then the touchdowns a bonus as well. And then you've seen me each week go double tight end, so tried it again. I think Dalton Kincaid is too good to continue such a low points per game. So maybe it's this week.
Baltimore has one of the worst defenses against tight ends. So
yep. So I like it's a different one for me, but I like it. I'm confident in my lineup.
Yeah, I like it. I like Neighbors and Collins a lot. So I'm glad I went Godwin, because that was that's been like my that's been my homie pick and Terry. I've had Terry like almost every week because I knew Terry eventually would do something.
So this is the week that Mike Evans
yeah, probably
pops off then, right?
Probably.
Always.
And then so last week, just like, it's kind of crazy how it's all been working out. Last week so if you missed, we do a 3-league parlay every single pod. Week 1, I missed Dalton Kincaid, 50 receiving yards, didn't happen. Week 2, Matt, you missed. I think it was
Amon-Ra.
Amon-Ra, anytime touchdown. Everything else hit. So we've been 2 out of 3.
He got hurt. Otherwise, he's scoring there. I promise.
Yeah. 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3. Last week, 2 out of 3 hit. Fancy, who was perfect through the first 2 weeks, misses is over, with Baker not scoring a single touchdown. If Baker scores 1 touchdown, our parlay hits. So we've been 2 out of 3 every single week. So we're saying this is the week, right? We do plus 500 or more. So if we hit one of these out of every 5 weeks, you make your money worth, right? I mean, you make a little bit more than your money's worth. So you'll be up. So this is the week that we're hitting. Matt, you got Saquon Barkley, anytime touchdown. Barkley with 5 touchdowns in the last 3 games. AJ Brown and Devontae Smith out. Look to see Barkley, Goddard, Jalen Hurts all to be very, very on the high end side of scoring. Denver Broncos plus 10. We moved the line a little bit. I believe the Broncos line was at either 6.5 or 7. I moved it to plus 10. That is my pick at minus 147. I think with the Broncos just coming off beating the Bucks 27-3 or 27 to whatever, or maybe it wasn't 27-3, but whatever it was. I don't think the Jets beat them by 10 plus. Not saying the Broncos are going to win because we don't have them winning, but I don't think they get stomped on. And then fancy Rams against the Bears, which puts us at plus 562, $25 to win 165.62. So make sure you guys tail this bet. We're due. And then next pod we'll all be celebrating with some more cash in our pocket. And then we have one last thing. We have trivia with Matt real quick. So stay tuned and we'll catch you with trivia with Matt.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Yeah, I thought you were desperate. That's where my mind went too. Here we go. Yeah, here we go.
So you talked about, you kind of led the pod off with talking about all these 3-0 teams. So it kind of got me thinking. I know I've talked about it before, so you guys should be able to ace this one. So right now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams that have the opportunity to go undefeated. So can you name the 2 teams, Super Bowl era, who have gone undefeated for the regular season?
Dolphins,
Patriots and Dolphins, yeah.
All right, can you name the year?
72 and 2007?
6.
6 to 7 or 7 to 8? I don't remember.
It's
That's why I
72
get
for Dolphins.
confused.
I think it's 06 for Patriots. 08, actually.
07 to 08. When?
Don't let him sway you, Fancy.
7 is right.
Because when did
7
the
is right.
Giants win? Yeah.
Yep. So 72, and then Pat's ended up dropping that one to the Giants. So and then we have two more pre Super Bowl era, which were 34 Bears and 42 Bears, if you count those.
Which Jake will love that since he lives in Chicago. So shout out Bears fans that are hiding in green. Also, a fun fact: if you want to go to any one of our favorite teams' games, the Eagles are the cheapest tickets right now, $90.
There you go.
Nice.
So,
bada boom. Oh, the game this week.
Yeah, game this week.
Because
Cheapest tickets you can get, $90.
If it's in Philly, they're so expensive. Like
Packers tickets are $208.
Yeah, Green Bay.
That's in Minnesota.
No, that's in Green Bay.
Are we back home? I
Yes.
could have sworn it was back in.
That's why it's so expensive.
Oh,
Yep.
maybe that's why the Packers. Maybe that's why the Packers are favorited because they are.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I don't remember you saying
That's
that.
another thing. Yeah,
I don't remember you saying that.
right there, the graphic, purple on the left is away.
Oh, is that away? Okay.
Left to right.
Also, on the Baker Mayfield thing, I think we had him for 2 touchdowns because he did have 1.
Oh well, no, we didn't need any touch. We just needed points. I'm saying is like we just
need another
touchdown.
Oh, I thought we needed Baker Mayfield to score another.
Oh no, we just need. I mean, it's just points total in the game. So we needed just a touchdown, and I just said like Baker had plenty of opportunities to do it. He just didn't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did have a touchdown. That's why I was confused. That's why I was like, what?
But yeah. So that sums up the pod. So hopefully we have a better week in terms of our picks. Hopefully you guys tell the parlay, because this is going to be the week that we hit it, right, Matt? Right, Fancy? We're all going to hit it.
One.
Big juicy one.
60% of the time, every time.
As soon as Texas allows it, I will trail you guys. I'll trail with you guys.
Yeah. But yeah, we just appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you guys are active on our socials. We've been extremely active this year on our pod. Social media accounts. We do snap shares. We do the weekly stats. We do waiver wire stuff. So we're very active. Our TikTok's growing. Our YouTube's growing. So we just appreciate you guys. Please, leave a like if you guys are listening. Make sure you guys are subbed. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
Later, guys.
Later.